Got your latest fad diet, making sure you include greens, just not for you. They want you to do it for the environment because they're labeling it climatarians, choosing to eat foods that reduce their climate footprint. That means ditching red meat, chocolate, and even coffee. Oh. Believe it or not, let's bring in Pete Hegseth, co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. All right, let's just look at this here. Call for number 2. This is sodium in meat versus Impossible Burger. You got all that. Look at this, all the sodium. And then call for number 3 here. All these ingredients, right, that you can look at here, but they think that this is better for the environment. What do you think?
Of course not. What am I, a climavore? I don't know the right word for it. A climavore or a reducitarian, you said? I don't know. All I know, first of all, this goes back for people wanting to play God. Climate's happened for thousands and thousands of years. It rains, farmers plant crops, things grow. We harvest those crops, or animals eat those crops, and then we eat the crops or we eat the animals. See, I don't know what's in the plant-based stuff, and it's trying to imitate the real stuff. Right. But I know what's in my burger. Cow is in my burger. And I know what's in my bacon. Pig is in my bacon. And that's the way the world has rotated for thousands of years. A carbon signaling, what do they get? Put it on the packaging? Like, if you eat this, you've emitted this much, and who benefits from that?
No doubt they
and how does that improve any part of the situation? There's no doubt they will. Stick to the basics. Eat the stuff that grows. Eat the stuff that moves, and everything's going to be fine.
That's so good. Remember when Bloomberg was mayor here, and he did the calorie counts at Yankee Stadium? Oh. And you go to a baseball game, and you order a hot dog. You're like, what's going on here? I think at first, Pete, you notice it, and the first time you notice it, and the second time you ignore it. That may be the case here as well. Now, you got a great new special coming up on.
Our healthcare systems seem in desperate need of staff right now. We've had ambulances waiting 5 hours at our local emergency rooms to unload patients. The hospitals, the nursing homes say they're waiting for DOH guidance on whether they can hire any of those workers back. What's the latest with that?
Well, we're considering all our options with respect to the litigation, so I can't comment on that. But I'll say that last year in my State of the State, we put forth a plan to help retention, also recruitment. And a lot of those programs are just unfolding now. $20 billion to bring back the healthcare system, including bonuses for existing workers, helping settle nursing strikes, which I get very involved in to make sure that patients are being cared for. It's a problem, but I don't think the answer is to have someone who comes in who's sick be exposed to someone who can give them the coronavirus, give them COVID-19. I don't know that that's the right answer. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. So we're exploring our options, but I think everybody who goes into a healthcare facility or a nursing home should have the assurance, and their family members should know, that we have taken all steps to protect the public health, and that includes making sure those who come in contact with them at their time of most vulnerability, when they are sick or elderly, will not pass on the virus. We lost 34 New Yorkers yesterday. We have 4,000 active cases. This has not gone away as much as we wish it would.
Couldn't there be other safety precautions, masking, other mechanisms in order to allow some of them back in? I mean, we're at crisis level here in our hospitals, and particularly in our nursing homes.
I truly understand the challenge and the balance, and these are never easy decisions. But I cannot put people into harm's way, because when you go into a healthcare facility, you expect that you're not going to come out sicker than you went in. I think that's something every New Yorker would expect.
Stopping by to say hi to her because she helped me with my Xbox just the other day, and I wanted to come by and check on her and see how things were. Lord knows I had no idea that as much as Memphis was so-called scared about somebody doing stuff and people acting a fool, I never thought that people would do something like this during a time where you're supposed to be remorseful and having people have peace, but you get young, ignorant, and you know it had to be crimes of opportunity. People want to act a fool and take advantage. So you talk about respect on one hand, and then they come out there and do shit like this.
And are you from Memphis?
Unfortunately.
And so how do you feel about seeing stuff like this happening?
You want to talk about having respect. People want to talk about, oh, we got to come together in community, you know, don't do stuff against us and everything. We need to stand up for what's right. Well, okay, here's a good example right here. Where are you now? Where are people standing up for what's right now?
Well, what do you think the community response should be to incidents like
what
this?
What it should be or what it would be?
Both, I guess.
Okay,
what do you
it
think?
should be is the people to say, hey, look, you know, we don't hardly have anything in this area for our community as it is. What it should be is, okay, folks who know that they, you know who did this should call them out and hold them accountable. But what it will be, and I'm just going to be flat out honest about it, especially people of my ethnicity, because you know that's really who did it, they're going to sit there and basically brag and own about it. They're going to sit there and be like, gloat about it. They're not going to do anything about it. So, you know, it's okay when something happens and it's against another race that does for the black race. Everybody wants to stand up and cry victim. But when black people themselves go out here and commit crimes and do something in their own community, where's your community activist people there and say, hey, look, we're going to hold y'all accountable. We're not going to put up with this. And then I understand how my friend here feels. You got to come to work like coming home after a hard day of doing what you're supposed to do and doing what you know is right to do. And you got to come and face people who want to take opportunity to take it upon themselves to take advantage of it.
As you know, on Friday, the emergency committee met to consider whether that remains the case. The committee has advised me that, in its view, COVID-19 remains a global health emergency, and I agree.
Now, one of the issues that's dogged you is that of your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you regret the relationship that you maintained with him against Melinda's advice and wishes?
Oh, I've said that you're going way back in time. But yeah,
new audience.
I will say for the, over 100th time, I shouldn't have had dinners with him.
Epstein had a way of sexually compromising people. Is that what Melinda was warning you about?
No. I mean, no, I had dinner with him, and that's all.
And that you regret the relationship, the acquaintance?
That I had dinner with him.
Mm. And the relationship between the foundation and Epstein,
there never was any relationship of any kind.
If it's a white policeman or a black policeman, it is a problem in the police, in the policing itself. Things don't seem to make sense to people unless it's somebody they can feel or they can recognize. But how many times do we need to see white people also get beaten before anybody will do anything? I'm not suggesting that, so don't write us and tell me what a racist I am. I'm just asking, is that what people have to see in order to wake up and realize this affects us all?
Governor, could you clarify what your position is on the death penalty?
I don't necessarily think that's relevant here. We just want to make sure that we're studying the practices.
So the people of Arizona probably have a legitimate question. They want to know where you stand personally on the death penalty. Can you tell us?
So she said that she's not going to tell you.
I know she said that.
Okay. How many times do you want her to say the same thing over and over?
Don't make me use this boot.
The hunt for a tiny radioactive capsule missing in Australia's outback has intensified. The country's nuclear safety agency said on Tuesday it had joined the search, sending a team with specialised car-mounted and portable detection equipment. The silver capsule, which is just 6 millimetres in diameter and 8 millimetres long, contains cesium-137, which emits radiation equal to 10 X-rays per hour. The gauge had been entrusted by the mining giant Rio Tinto to a specialist contractor to transport. It's believed to have fallen from a truck that had been travelling from a town north of Newman to the northeast suburbs of Perth. That's a distance longer than the length of Great Britain. Authorities said it will take approximately 5 days to travel the original route. Rio apologised on Monday for the loss, which happened sometime in the past 2 weeks.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Western Australia's Chief Health Officer, Andrew Robertson, warned on Friday that extended exposure to the capsule could cause skin damage, including burns and acute radiation sickness.
Very careful of.
Though experts have said driving past the capsule be relatively low risk, akin to having an X-ray.
10 X-rays in an hour.
Which brings me to May 30th, 2020. Bob and Doug returned to the Kennedy Space Center. They suited up, they waved to their families, and they rode an elevator up nearly 20 stories. They strapped in to their seats and waited as the tanks beneath them filled with tens of thousands of gallons of fuel. And then they launched. Yeah, they did.
Hey guys, we're here at Give and Go's Farm in southern Ontario. We milk about 260 cows. Right now during the winter months, you milk quite a bit more milk because the feed is very consistent. And as you do a good job, you will produce quite a bit of milk. So, but right now we're over our quota. It's regulated by the government and by the DFO. But the problem is what they don't understand is millions of people look at this milk running away because it's the end of the month. So I have to dump 30,000 liters of milk. It breaks my heart. I will show you. By the way, this here, Canadian milk, it's $7 a liter. When I go for my haircut, people say, wow, $7, Jerry, for a little bit of milk. I say, well, you have to go higher up because we have no say anymore as a dairy farmer on our own farm because they make us dump it. And no matter how we stand up, so this time I'm going public. I want the people to see the pain that us growers have of 365 days. As a little boy, we grew up on a dairy farm, came from Europe, work, and here we are. This is what's happening.
Don't tell me that this is about a condemnation of anti-Semitic remarks when you have a member of the Republican caucus who has talked about Jewish space lasers and an entire amount of tropes and also elevated her to some of the highest committee assignments in this body. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened. Thank you.
Что приведет? Ну, в первую очередь это Донбасс, понимаете? Здесь самые трудолюбивые люди. Вот я здесь и выучилась, и работала в Донбассе, именно в Донецке. Это самый красивый город. Именно трудолюбие, именно стойкость наших людей, стойкость наших мужчин и женщин, конечно, приведет к победе обязательно. Мы в этом не сомневаемся. Что я вообще не считаю эту нацию за людей, простите меня, Штаты. Ну, вы же прекрасно историю знаете. Где-нибудь они воюют, и, собственно говоря, вот это свое богатство, все у них откуда? Потому что войны, сплошные войны. На людей им просто наплевать. Потому что можно сказать этой нации? Потому что все начало с той стороны. Штаты, НАТО, Евросоюз уже опозорился до такой степени, что дальше некуда. Нормальные люди были и Франция, и Германия. Что это теперь? Тем более никто ж не разбирается, что войну начала Украина. Позорно, без предупреждения. Турчинов, может, помните, не взрывайте. Да? А все Россия, 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 Россия. Слышите? Россия никогда ни одних войн не начинала, но всегда побеждала. А мы русские, понимаете? Мы в России.
The database was intermittently accessible from December 2019 to February 2020 before being permanently taken offline in February of 2020. Do you think that the U.S. should continue to fund any type of research that they were doing in the Wuhan Institute on the virus in China?
Well, first, I don't have any more information than you have on the database.
but I have read that U.S. funds probably contributed some to that database, so that certainly raises question as if we contributed some funds to that, not all, but some funds, we should have access to that database.
Based on your experience working for the U.S. government and based on your knowledge of the goals of these central planners, is it even reasonable to say that the response to COVID-19 was authentic, or perhaps is this the result of pre-planning?
This was pre-planned. This is it's completely ridiculous to assume that it wasn't. In other words, if you look at the documentation to prove that it was planned, particularly the financial aspects, it's impossible that it wasn't pre-planned. You know, it's anybody who's run a big operation knows how hard it is, how much work and planning it takes. This one took a lot of planning. And I worked for many years with investigative reporter John Rappaport on the effort to falsify a pandemic. You know, basically a pandemic is a false flag. You know, so they've been trying to do this many times. And this is not the first time. It's just the first time they succeeded globally. But the other thing, and I'll just be really blunt, and anybody who knows me can tell you, I was apoplectic in 1998, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, because it was a fait accompli. If you stole all the retirement funds, you would have to reduce the population. You would have to reduce the population's economic footprint by radical amounts. It was inevitable. And every year you let that money sit stolen and not getting it back, you were locking yourself into a world where these kinds of things were inevitable. So it wasn't clear to me how they would do the reset, but the fact that they had to, you know, because they've been continuously lowering life expectancies from the time the coup started, you know, certainly in America. So this was a mathematical certainty, and the reason it was extremely frustrating for me for the, you know, from 1990 on every year was I couldn't successfully communicate to my audience or a broader audience that this would result in a significant lowering of life expectancy and a significant lowering of economic, you know, circumstances for everybody. You know, this kind of planned operation and reset was inevitable. The establishment had to do it.
Our announcement last night regarding the high-altitude surveillance balloon, I'm not going to have much new information to provide other than to say that the North American Aerospace Defense Command continues to monitor it closely. While we won't get into specifics in regards to the exact location, I can tell you that the balloon continues to move eastward and is currently over the center of the continental United States.
If you need a single location to get cutting-edge information and keep up with the rapidly changing world around us, tune into Grand Theft World, where a forensic historian and a logic professor break down the week's news in depth and in context. There's a ton more there, so go check it out. And don't forget to get your Freedom Vault on the homepage.